Hello, family. Welcome to Stories with Pablo. Please subscribe and leave us a like. It means a lot to us. Also, share this video with your friends and loved ones and turn on post notifications so you don't miss our future videos. Thank you for doing so. Please subscribe and leave us a like. It means a lot to us. Also, share this video with your friends and loved ones and turn on post notifications so you don't miss our future videos. Thank you for doing so. The soft chirping of birds filtered through the open windows of the sunlit living room, intermingling with the faint melody of a distant violin. It was a Saturday morning in early spring, and the gentle warmth of the day seemed to promise nothing but tranquility. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the subtle scent of blooming gardenias from the vase nestled on the polished oak side table. The house was alive with a careful placement of delicate decorations, white lace draped over the backs of chairs, pastel pink and cream balloons tethered to the chandelier, and fragrant bouquets of peonies scattered artfully on every surface. Today was a day of celebration, a bridal shower for Mia Calhoun, a woman whose laughter had filled the halls of this home for as long as anyone could remember. Yet amidst the orchestrated charm and joyful festivities, a sense of quiet tension hovered like a fragile glass ornament balanced precariously on a mantel. Not all hearts were as light as they appeared. Lila Harper reclined quietly on the plush velvet chaise longue, her eyes closed as she pretended to nap. Her long chestnut hair cascaded around her like a soft curtain, lending her an ethereal air that both concealed and betrayed the storm within. At 29 years old, Lila had been Mia's best friend since college, a kindred spirit bound by years of shared secrets, laughter, tears, and dreams. She was a kind of friend who knew Mia's favorite songs, her childhood fears, and the quiet moments where vulnerability hid behind laughter. But today, as laughter echoed and champagne flowed, Lila's heart was weighted by a shadow she hadn't anticipated, a betrayal whispered in secrecy, overheard beneath the guise of sleep. Lila's porcelain skin was almost translucent under the soft light, each breath measured and deliberate as she lay still, every muscle coiled in silent anticipation. She had come here to celebrate Mia, her radiant, hopeful friend, and to honor their bond with laughter and tears of happiness. Instead, she found herself caught in the web of a secret that threatened to unravel everything they held dear. Nearby, Mia floated gracefully from guest to guest, her champagne-colored dress shimmering subtly as her golden hair caught the light. Her smile was effortlessly bright, the kind that warmed every corner of the room. But it was a smile carefully curated for the occasion, hiding the complex emotions simmering beneath, a mixture of excitement, trust, and a flicker of anxious hope. "Lila, are you up for some quizzes?" called Charlotte, a vivacious bridesmaid with sparkling green eyes, holding a small envelope of games. Lila allowed herself a slight movement, a faint parting of her lips that mimicked a dreamlike sigh, signaling only partial awakening. "Maybe later," she murmured, her voice a soft whisper beneath the warm hum of gatherings. Charlotte giggled and disappeared into the throng, leaving Lila alone with her thoughts. Her mind churned with fragments of dialogue she had caught earlier, snippets of conversation that no one intended for her ears. Her best friend's sister, Meredith, and one of the bridesmaids, a woman from Mia's work circle, had shared words laced with secrecy and something darker. The words plan, not yet, and everything will change echoed hauntingly in Lila's mind. The room's cheerful ambience felt like a fragile mass, one that might crack with the gentlest pressure. As the afternoon sun rose higher, casting dappled golden light through the French doors, Lila's restraint began to fray. A sudden chill swept through her veins, not from the spring breeze, but from the burden of knowing a truth that threatened to shatter the day. Her eyelids fluttered, not in sleep, but in silent vigil. Tonight, everything would change. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting elongated shadows across the wooden floor as the gathering evolved from lively celebration to hushed whispers and conspiratorial laughter. The soft chink of fine china and the gentle tinkling of a piano sonata mingled with the soft voices that ebbed and flowed like a tide. Lila remained reclined on the chaise, her eyes still closed but her awareness sharpening with every passing moment. Her mind wandered through memories and possibilities, her heart a delicate balance of hope and dread. The silence around her was punctuated by occasional bursts of female camaraderie, the sharing of stories, the swapping of oldest friendship secrets, the delicate balancing act of joy beneath the surface. Mia's father, a quietly proud man named Richard Calhoun, stood near the fireplace, holding court in his usual reserved manner. His eyes swept the room occasionally, settling briefly on Lila. There was a softness there, a knowing glance that spoke of unspoken understanding. "Lila," whispered Meredith as she approached cautiously, "there's something you need to know." The words were barely audible to the others, but to Lila they struck like a sudden thunderclap. She instinctively shifted to listen, keeping her eyes closed to maintain the illusion. But every muscle tensed, every sense sharpened. Meredith's voice was low, nervous. I didn't want MIA to find out like this. But you're here now. You need to be careful. This affects everyone, especially MIA. Lila's lips pressed into a thin line, the weight of the secret pressing down on her chest. The conversation that followed was fragmented, but the hints of plans and betrayal were unmistakable. Meredith spoke in guarded tones about a pending revelation, one that would shake the foundation of what MIA believed about her fiancé and the people closest to her. Even as she feigned sleep, Lila's mind raced, piecing together the puzzle. The tumultuous emotions warred within her, loyalty to MIA, anger at the deceit, fear of the consequences. She understood then that the bridal shower, a symbol of joy and new beginnings, was also the crucible of impending heartbreak. A sudden shift in the atmosphere jolted Lila out of her reverie. The front door opened, and more guests arrived, their laughter spilling into the room like liquid sunshine. For a moment, the fragile veil of normalcy returned. MIA swept across the room, vibrant and radiant, oblivious to the undercurrents. Lila's gaze followed her, a quiet ache blossoming in her chest. This was her best friend, the woman who had been her constant since college, whose laughter could light up the darkest nights. And soon, that laughter would be silenced by truths she did not yet know. Lila resolved to protect MIA, to hold onto the fragile threads of their friendship for as long as she could. But the storm was gathering, and no shelter would be safe when it broke. The aftermath of the bridal shower lingered like a quiet storm inside Lila's mind, relentless and pervasive. Despite the festive decorations still adorning the Calhoun residence and the laughter carried on the wind outside, Lila felt an invisible weight dragging at her spirit. The secret she had stumbled upon was not only dangerous but devastating. It colored every thought, each interaction, fracturing the innocence of the celebration. That evening, the city's golden sunset faded into twilight, casting long shadows through the narrow streets where rows of townhouses nestled closely together. Lila's small apartment, usually a haven of calm, now felt claustrophobic. Her hands had been trembling ever since she left the shower, fingers curling and uncurling as she paced the worn hardwood floors. Her phone buzzed softly on the coffee table. A message from Sophie, a mutual friend, asked how the shower had gone. Lila stared at the screen but didn't reply. How could she explain that beneath the joy and sparkle, she had uncovered a betrayal so profound it threatened to dismantle everything? Her mind played the conversation back, fragment by fragment. Meredith's words, hushed but urgent, echoed. The mention of a plan, the hint that Mia's fiancé was not the man he seemed, the revelation poised to shatter Mia's world. Lila needed to talk to someone who understood, someone who could help her bear this burden. Later that night, the faint chime of messages at her door signaled the arrival of Anna, her closest confidant since college. They embraced, a moment of solace in a world suddenly overwhelming. "I saw the bracelet you wore today," Anna said softly, nodding toward the delicate silver chain still glinting on Lila's wrist. "Mia's favorite. It suits you, like you belong there." Lila forced a small smile, grateful for the kindness. "They don't know," Lila whispered, voice breaking. "The betrayal, the lies. How can I tell MIA?" Anna's eyes filled with compassion. "We'll figure this out together. You're not alone." Their conversation spilled over into the early hours, the weaving of plans, fears, and fragile hopes. Lila knew that confronting the hidden truth meant risking everything, her friendship, the family, even the wedding. But burying it was no longer an option. As dawn approached, a steely determination settled over her. The next step she took would define not only her future, but that of everyone she loved. The day after the bridal shower dawned gray and restless, a mirror to Lila's inner turmoil. She awoke in her apartment enveloped by the cold light of morning, the echoes of the previous day's hidden conversations ringing loud in her mind. The weight of the secret she carried pressed on her chest, making breath feel shallow, moments feel heavy. She moved through her routine with mechanical precision. The scent of brewing coffee filled the kitchen, but its warmth did little to soothe the chill that settled around her heart. Across the city, the streets buzzed with life. Children laughing on their way to school, vendors opening their doors, the pulse of everyday rhythm. Yet Lila felt detached, an invisible barrier separating her from the world she once knew. Her phone buzzed insistently. A message from Mia's sister, Meredith. "Can we talk? It's urgent." Lila's heart skipped, then sank. Was Meredith ready to reveal all, or was this another layer of the complicated web? The meeting was set for late afternoon at a nearby cafe nestled beneath a canopy of blooming cherry blossoms. The delicate pink petals drifted in the breeze like confessions falling softly to the ground. When Lila arrived, Meredith was already seated, her usual poise shadowed by unease. Her eyes flickered nervously as Lila approached. "I'm glad you came," Meredith began, voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't want you to find out the way you did, but it's better you hear it from me." Lila's stomach tightened. "What is going on, Meredith? What are you not telling him?" Meredith sighed deeply, rubbing the back of her neck. "Jason isn't who he appears to be. There are things about his past, things that could ruin MIA if she knew." Lila frowned. "Why didn't you tell MIA? Why keep it a secret?" "Because I'm afraid of losing her, of tearing the family apart," Meredith confessed, eyes brimming with tears. "I tried to protect her." The conversation unfolded like a fragile tapestry of half-truths and suppressed fears. Meredith revealed pieces of a past scandal involving Jason, carefully hidden from public knowledge, and the silent warning she had tried to pass along. Lila listened, torn between anger and empathy. The complexity of love and loyalty was plain. No one was entirely innocent here. As the conversation ended, a new agreement was forged. Lila and Meredith would work together to protect MIA, to navigate the treacherous path of truth. But carrying such a heavy secret meant sacrifice. Trust would be tested, hearts might break, and the simple joy of Mia's impending wedding hung precariously in the balance. Later that evening, Lila found herself sitting alone beneath the cherry blossoms. The petals fluttered down like whispered prayers as she pondered the impossible choice before her, to shield her best friend in blissful ignorance or shatter illusions with the brutal light of truth. She traced the silver bracelet around her wrist, the one MIA had given her, a symbol of their friendship and unwavering support. It was a reminder that even in darkness, bonds could endure. With resolve blooming anew, Lila decided that whatever the cost, she would not let her friend walk blindly into a future built on secrets. The first step had to be honesty. The city was still draped in the dusky blue hues of early morning when Lila's footsteps echoed softly on the pavement. Her breath formed small clouds against the chilly air, but it wasn't the cold that made her shiver. It was a burden of secrets too heavy to bear and truth screaming to be told. Her thoughts circled like winter crows, the bridal shower, the laughter, the music, the whispered words stolen beneath the guise of celebration. Meredith's trembling voice, the furtive glances exchanged, the mention of Jason's hidden past. It all painted a picture too dark for the bright promise of Mia's upcoming wedding. At Mia's apartment door, Lila's hand trembled as she raised it to knock. The door swung open before she could touch it, and Mia's radiant face greeted her like a beacon in the storm. "Lila, you look like you've seen a ghost," MIA said, pulling her friend inside with unforced warmth. Lila managed a weak smile, stepping into the familiar living space adorned with a soft glow of candles and scattered wedding magazines. Memories flooded her, the late-night talks, the shared dreams of forever, but now those memories felt like lifelines tethering her to what was real beneath the deception. MIA touched Lila's arm gently. "Tell me what's wrong. You can say anything." They settled at a small kitchen table, where sunlight spilled pale gold through sheer curtains. The world outside moved on, unaware, but inside, time slowed as Lila's voice trembled with the weight of her confession. "It's about Jason. I overheard something yesterday, at the shower." Lila's gaze searched Mia's, pleading for understanding. Mia's breath caught, and the faintest shadow passed across her face. "What did you hear?" Lila took a deep breath and recounted the whispered warnings Meredith had barely dared to voice. Jason's obscured history, the business scandal he'd hidden, the fractured friendships left unspoken, and the growing suspicion that MIA was not the first to be kept in the dark. Mia's hands gripped the table, knuckles white. Why did no one tell me? How could he? Tears welled and spilled as MIA grappled with the betrayal, unraveling her reality. I don't know, Lila admitted softly, but I couldn't keep it from you. You deserve to know. For a long moment they sat in silence, the fragile threads of friendship stretched but unbroken, as dawn's light grew stronger. They both knew that the only path forward was through the hardest conversation they'd ever face, confronting the man MIA was about to marry. The hours crawled by like molasses as MIA and Lila sat together, the weight of their conversation pressing down with an almost suffocating intensity. The silence between them was no longer empty but filled with all the unspoken questions that had begun to demand answers. Finally, Mia's voice broke the stillness, low and strained but resolute. I need to talk to Jason. Alone. No more secrets, she said firmly, her eyes glistening with tears but shining with renewed strength. Lila nodded, her heart pounding in solidarity and fear. I'll be here, whatever happens. After gathering her courage, MIA reached out to Jason. The call was brief, his voice calm but layered with surprise and something unreadable beneath. He agreed to meet that very afternoon. When Jason arrived, the tension in the air was palpable. His usual confident demeanor flickered in the face of the unspoken storm. The three sat in the small living room, the sunlight now heavy and oppressive through the windows. Mia's voice was steady but firm as she began. Jason, I'm hearing things I didn't know about you, things Lila overheard. Her eyes searched his face for honesty. Jason swallowed visibly, the cracks appearing in his carefully constructed facade. MIA, I wanted to tell you. I was trying to protect you. Protect me by lying. Mia's pain cut deeply, the betrayal raw and searing. How long did you think this could last? Jason's defenses crumbled, and he confessed, a past filled with mistakes, betrayals, and estranged relationships he never thought would resurface. He spoke of fear, shame, and a desperate hope for a fresh start with MIA. Lila watched silently, torn between her instinct to comfort and the ache of the shard of truth piercing the heart of their friendship. Mia's tears flowed freely now, but beneath them shone a fierce determination. I need time to process this. I need to know if you're willing to be honest, completely honest, from now on. Jason nodded, his voice cracking with sincerity. I will. No more lies. The fragile truth settled over the room, but the road ahead was uncertain and steep. Trust, once broken, was a hard mountain to climb. Later that evening, MIA and Lila sat beneath the soft glow of lamplight, the silence this time one of shared understanding rather than despair. We'll get through this, Lila whispered, hope threading through her words. Together. And for the first time since the bridal shower, MIA allowed herself to believe it might be true. The days that followed the confrontation were filled with uneasy silence and quiet introspection. The once unshakable confidence MIA held about her future now felt fragile and uncertain, like a house built on shifting sand. Lila remained at her side, a steadfast presence through the emotional tempest. But even their strong bond was tested as family and friends began to sense the undercurrents beneath the surface. At the Calhoun family's weekend gathering, a traditional event meant to celebrate the upcoming nuptials, underneath the patterned tablecloths and polite smiles, tension simmered visibly. Meredith, who had once been distant yet cordial, now seemed guarded and often exchanged sharp glances with Jason. Their unresolved history hung between them like a storm cloud. Others watched silently, unsure how to navigate the unspoken rift. MIA found herself torn between loyalty to Jason, to Meredith, and to the friendships that had defined her life. One afternoon, as the sun poured through the windows of the family's sunroom, MIA and Meredith came face to face with the emotions that had long haunted them. Why didn't you tell me sooner? MIA asked, voice trembling as she held back tears. Meredith's gaze wavered. I wanted to protect you. Thought if I interfered, it would only hurt you more. But secrecy is what hurt me, MIA said quietly. Trust isn't just about what's said, it's about what's withheld. The sisters' fragile bond cracked under the weight of their words, yet beneath the cracks, a flicker of understanding remained. Meanwhile, Jason struggled under the growing scrutiny, his attempts at openness occasionally undermined by shadows from his past resurfacing. Lila felt the strain ripple through the circle of friends, her role evolving from confidant to reluctant mediator. Nights were often spent in whispered strategizing, phone calls, and moments of raw vulnerability, a testament to the resilience required to mend fractured bonds. As the wedding day loomed closer, the question hung heavily in the air: could love survive the fractures, or would it splinter apart, leaving only memories of what might have been? The days dwindled toward the wedding, each moment layered with both anticipation and unease. Invitations were sent, venues confirmed, but beneath the polished surface, the subtle fractures of recent revelations persisted like faint scars, reminders that some wounds ran deeper than celebrations could heal. Mia's once vibrant laughter was tempered by introspection. The grace she showed to guests masked an ongoing struggle within. The joyous rituals of dress fittings, cake tastings, and floral arrangements unfolded alongside whispered doubts and guarded conversations. One rainy afternoon, Lila accompanied MIA to an appointment with a renowned wedding planner nestled in a historic district lined with cobblestone streets and flowering ivy. The juxtaposition of beauty and tension was palpable. Over delicate cups of chamomile tea in the planner's sunlit office, their conversation drifted from color palettes to Mia's lingering phase. "I want this day to be perfect," MIA confessed, her voice soft but resolute. "But part of me is terrified that the past will intrude and unravel everything." Lila reached across the table, squeezing her hand gently. "We can't control everything, but we can face what comes with courage. You're not alone." Meanwhile, Jason grappled with rebuilding trust amidst a circle increasingly wary of his presence. His efforts to reconcile with Meredith were tentative but sincere, a fragile bridge forming between old wounds and newfound understanding. Their dialogue, once terse and fraught, softened with each encounter as they confronted their shared past. As the wedding rehearsal approached, tensions gave way to moments of surprising tenderness. Family and friends gathered, laughter ringing through the halls once heavy with silence. That evening, as the sunset painted the sky in hues of rose and gold, MIA stood with Jason beneath an arch of blooming roses, the weight of uncertainty momentarily lifted by the promise of new beginnings. Lila watched from nearby, her heart full of hope and cautious optimism. The echoes of truth had challenged them all, but in facing those echoes, they found strength, forgiveness, and the possibility of healing that transcended betrayal. The morning of the wedding dawned clear and radiant, a perfect canvas painted with strokes of sunlight and gentle breezes. The world outside the venue was vibrant with anticipation, the streets alive with flowers, laughter, and the promise of celebration. Inside a softly lit bridal suite, MIA sat before the full-length mirror, her reflection framed by cascading waves of chestnut hair and the exquisite lace of her gown. Her hands trembled slightly as she smoothed the fabric, her breath catching with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Lila stood nearby, adjusting a delicate veil, stealing glances at her friend's face, so radiant yet shadowed with the residue of recent storms. "You look breathtaking," Lila whispered, offering a warm smile. MIA returned the smile, her eyes glossy. "Thank you, Lila. I don't know what I'd do without you." The women shared a quiet moment, the depth of their friendship palpable amid the swirl of silk and jasmine. Outside, the venue buzzed with activity, guests arriving in elegant attire, musicians tuning their instruments, and the scent of blooming gardenias mingling with fresh-cut roses. As the ceremony hour approached, whispers of unease stirred beneath the surface. A few guests exchanged cautious glances, aware of the fragile tensions born from recent revelations. Backstage, Jason paced nervously, rehearsing vows behind closed doors, wrestling not only with words but with the uncertainty staking claim to his future. As Mia's procession began, the soft strains of the string quartet filled the air, and the world seemed to hold its breath. The aisle stretched long and sunlit, lined with petals and expectant faces, as MIA moved gracefully forward, each step weighted with both hope and fear. Jason's eyes met Hayes, and for a moment, the noise of the world melted away. Between them lay the chasm of truth revealed and the fragile bridge of forgiveness they had begun to build. The officiant's voice carried softly, weaving words of love and commitment, their promises echoing beneath the vaulted ceilings. When the moment came to exchange vows, Mia's hands trembled but her voice was clear. "I stand here not because the past has been erased," she said, eyes locked on Jason's, "but because I believe in our capacity to face it together." Jason replied with earnest sincerity, pledging honesty and devotion, an open heart laid bare. The congregation breathed as one, a collective acknowledgement that love was neither simple nor perfect. It was brave. As rings were exchanged and the pronouncement declared, applause erupted, tears glistened, and new beginnings took root. Later, during the reception, laughter mingled with music and heartfelt speeches. Old wounds were acknowledged gently, healing gestures mended fragile hearts. Lila found herself surrounded by friends, each story shared underscoring the resilience of human connection. As night deepened, beneath a canopy of stars and twinkling lights, MIA and Jason shared a quiet dance, an unspoken promise to navigate whatever storms may come. The day of reckoning had arrived, but with it, the dawn of hope. The morning following the wedding greeted the Calhoun estate with a gentle breeze that carried whispers of change and renewal. Sunlight poured through the towering windows, illuminating the freshly blossomed garden where streamers still fluttered softly in the early light. The air was thick with a scent of roses and anticipation. Inside the bridal suite, MIA awoke to the delicate chime of her phone. It was a message from Lila. "Meet me in the garden when you're ready. We have a lot to talk about." MIA dressed carefully, the soft fabric of a new wedding gown replaced by a simple cotton dress, and made her way outside. The garden was a sanctuary of calm, filled with the vibrant colors of tulips, daffodils, and emerald leaves. Lila was already there, seated on a wrought iron bench, a small smile greeting Mia's arrival. "Congratulations," Lila said warmly, patting the space beside her. MIA sat down, sighing deeply. "Thank you. It's surreal, really. So much has changed, yet somehow I feel like I'm just beginning to understand what it all means." Lila nodded. "That's the hardest part, the aftermath, the rebuilding." Their conversation meandered through memories of the bridal shower, the confrontation, and the wedding day. They spoke of pain, forgiveness, and the courage it took to face imperfection. MIA confessed her fears of how their families would navigate the new realities, and how she struggled to reconcile the woman she thought she knew with the truths revealed. Lila offered reassurance, reminding her that growth was a journey marked by moments of doubt and courage alike. As afternoon light waned, the sisters Meredith and MIA joined them, tentative but seeking reconciliation. The three women sat together, sharing stories, laughter mingling with tears, a fragile bridge forming anew. The evening unfolded into a gathering of friends and family around a long oak table set beneath twinkling fairy lights. The feast was a celebration not only of marriage but of healing and renewal. Cultures intertwined in the vibrant dishes, spiced lentils from Meredith's heritage mingling with Jason's family's classic roast, wines poured amid traditional music swelling softly in the background. Speeches stirred heartfelt emotions. Jason acknowledged past mistakes openly, pledging continued honesty and devotion. Meredith spoke of love's complexities, emphasizing the strength found in forgiveness. MIA, radiant and serene, offered thanks for friendships tested and true. Lila watched with pride and hope, her role shifting from bystander to anchor in the storm. As the night deepened, the conversations turned from the past to dreams of the future. Plans for travels, new homes, and life's next chapters were spoken with laughter and warmth. Under the canopy of stars, MIA and Lila shared a quiet moment, a silent promise that no matter the storms ahead, their bond would remain unbreakable. The journey was far from over, but in that moment, peace settled like a gentle balm. Hello, family. Kindly share with us your thoughts, comments, or opinion. We'd be glad to hear from you on these stories. Thanks for watching Stories with Pablo. Please subscribe and leave us a like. It means a lot to us. You can also share this video with your friends and loved ones and turn on post notifications so you don't miss our future videos. Thank you for doing so.